Is the Apple iPad Air M3 worth your money? In today's video, we find out. This is the brand new, well, newish iPad Air M3. It's the mid-level iPad and the one that's probably right for most people. Or is it? I've been using this iPad for a while now, and in today's video, I'll be giving you guys my review of the iPad Air M3 and telling you guys whether this new version is actually worth it. Really quick though, this video is brought to you by my brand APTHCRY. We make the best socks out there. They're super comfortable, they're soft, they're very breathable, mainly because of our proprietary ISOweave technology. In addition to our selection of clean essentials colors, we also drop limited collections and collaborations every week. So make sure to grab a pair of your sneakers' new favorite socks on APTHCRY.com. And make sure to use my code Seth to get $5 off of your first purchase. Seriously, I know it's my brand, I know I'm a little biased, but APTHCRY socks will change the way that you think about socks. But getting back into things, the iPad Air comes in two different models, an 11-inch and a 13-inch, both offering storage options of 128 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, 512, and of course 1 terabyte. The 11-inch, which is the one that I have here, has a starting price of $599, whereas the 13-inch has a starting price of $799, so it's $200 more. Colors on the iPad Air have remained the same from the last release. Of course, you've got blue, purple, starlight, and space gray, which is the one I have here. I just love the space gray look. I don't think I'm ever gonna get an iPad that isn't space gray. Okay, sure, I got a blue one, but that one was for my wife. She has a blue MacBook, so it kind of makes sense. But for me, space gray all day. That's the way that I go. I love space gray. Now, the big difference between the old iPad Air and the new iPad Air is the chip, the M3 chip. I mean, let's be real. This new iPad Air is very similar to the last generation. I mean, it's impossible to tell them apart unless you see the box. That said, it's still an awesome tablet, but let me tell you guys why. The iPad Air comes with a beautiful liquid retina display. The 11-inch has a 2360 by 1640 resolution at 264 ppi. The 13-inch has a resolution of 2732 by 2048, also at 264 ppi. Now, unfortunately, the screen is still 60 Hertz, which I guess is fine, but obviously 120 Hertz would be preferred. However, in order to get that, you do have to upgrade to the iPad Pro, so that's probably one of the big differentiators between the two iPads and one of the reasons they can charge so much more. Now, there is actually a difference between the iPad Air 11-inch and the iPad Air 13-inch besides just the size, and that's the brightness. The 11 gets up to 500 nits of brightness, whereas the 13 hits 600 nits, so it's a little bit brighter. It's a nice little bump there, so if you want a slightly brighter screen, go with the 13-inch. They both do have true tone displays, which means they can match the tone of your environment on the screen, which is kind of a cool feature. Plus, it has an anti-reflective coating, but I mean, it's still sort of reflective. It's actually not bad though. I'm looking at it in my light right here. It's not too bad, actually. Now, I know I mentioned a couple things about this iPad screen that I would have preferred to be different, slightly improved, if you will, but I'm always still impressed by how good these screens look. They're very bright, they're very clear, the colors are super nice, so I'm really just being nitpicky of some of the shortcomings. And of course, if you want the best of the best screen, you do have to get the iPad Pro. But even though the screen is the same as last year, it still doesn't disappoint. Well, not that much. I mean, it's not a disappointing screen, but there are some things I wish had been updated. Surrounding the display is the very minimal and honestly beautiful aluminum body. It's the same as last year, but it still feels modern and great in the hand. Also, very premium. Now, I do have to say that the black bezel on the 11-inch model is starting to feel a little bit big and a little bit outdated, but not to a point where it bothers me. My main iPad is the M4 iPad Pro 13-inch, and I've gotten really used to the bezels on that device. Obviously, the screen is larger, so the bezels feel smaller, but the 11-inch is just starting to feel a little bit big in the bezel department. I wouldn't be surprised if future iPads do have that reduced a little bit. Also, just to note, this iPad is thicker than the iPad Pro, which is the thinnest Apple product ever made, apparently. So if you're looking for a slightly thinner device, this feels thin enough to me though. Go with the iPad Pro. Now, where the iPad Air 2025 differentiates itself from the previous version is the M3 chip that I mentioned before. From what I can tell, it seems like there's a 20% performance bump from the M2, which isn't earth-shattering, but it's nice. If I got 20% taller, I'd be happy about that. Wouldn't change my life. Maybe it would, actually. I don't know. I'm 5'11". If I got 20% taller, I'd be over 6 foot. It'd be nice, but you know, it's not a huge deal. I'm married, I've got kids, it's fine. I don't need the extra height. But getting back to the iPad, games just run smoother, rendering is a tad faster, everything just feels a bit peppier. It's not hugely noticeable, but it is a bit snappier. Now, one scenario where the faster processor might be worth the upgrade is if you use your iPad for photo or video editing. Again, if you want to do that, I would recommend the Pro over the Air, but still, you can actually do some pretty decent light video editing and photo editing. Definitely enough for social media. Plus, the iPad Air is compatible with the newer Apple Pencil Pro, so it actually makes an excellent drawing tablet. As a digital artist myself, I actually replaced my Wacom tablet with an iPad a few years ago, and and I really haven't looked back. Drawing on the iPad, especially the 13-inch with the Pencil Pro, is amazing. It works really well. Plus, when you're done with your project, you can post it from your iPad and then immediately jump into a game of Call of Duty Mobile. It's awesome. Another great aspect about the iPad Air, which granted hasn't changed much from the previous version, is battery life. It's still solid, it lasts a long time, and I've never had an issue with it. Of course, the cameras remain the same on the iPad Air. You've still got the center stage camera on the side of the device. You've got the camera on the back, which is fine. I would prefer no camera bump personally, and just not even having a camera on the back, so I could just kind of set it flat on the table, but you know, it is what it is. Honestly, one of the biggest upgrades to the iPad Air this year isn't even really an upgrade to the device itself. It's the brand new keyboard attachment, which I don't want to spend the money on, so I didn't. So I can't speak to how good it actually is. That said, I do think that's how most casual users feel about it, so I don't think it was necessary for me to buy the peripheral to review this device, just because I honestly would probably never use it. I'm giving you guys a real consumer's perspective here. I didn't want to spend the money on it, so I didn't, and I don't think you should either, unless you really need a keyboard, although you can get decent Bluetooth keyboards that work just the same. Although they can't fold up, so if you want the fold up, get that one, I guess. So, should you buy the brand new iPad Air M3? Well, the answer really depends on what iPad you have now. If you don't have an iPad at all and want to check out the ecosystem and are looking for a solid device that's fast enough to do light video editing and some decent gaming, the Air is absolutely the way to go. If you are, however, just looking for a media consumption device and you're not even considering the larger 13-inch, then I'd recommend saving the money and grabbing the standard iPad. It is a step down in a lot of ways, but once you start using it, you probably won't miss the more premium features. If you have last year's Air or another model that's newer, I'd say skip this one. It's not going to do much that your older iPads can't, and it's just a slight performance bump realistically, so just wait for the next one. I mean, hey, I think the iPad Air is an excellent device for just about everyone, but should everyone pay the $600 base price? Well, it depends on your budget, but if you do, I don't think you'll be disappointed. But with all that being said, let me know what you think about the iPad Air M3 in the comment section down below. Are you grabbing one? Do you have one? Let me know all those thoughts. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.